Hello and welcome back to the 2019 Mercedes-Benz Virtual GP season. We're at the home of British motorsport for the penultimate races of the year, and we're kicking things off with the VGP2 drivers for round 12 of the season. My name is Justin Sutton, and joining me as usual, it's Chris Buxton.
It is to my territory. It is, of course, Silverstone for the last of the studio races, the sprint and feature race, starting off with the VGP2 drivers, as Justin has mentioned. And this is how the VGP2 standings currently look. Kovacic with a very comfortable lead now of 30 points over Pavel Reigl, but it's still a lot to play for. Pachada, Prohaska, Kujela, Bušek, all in real short order, fighting for those remaining spots. Team-wise, Acer with a very comfortable lead up front, 238 over Logitech, but again, a lot of fighting in the midfield as we've seen all season long. Benzina, Predator, Smarty, RPS, even Thrustmaster down to 8th position. The Lenovo Legion team have a lot to fight for.
Let's have a look at this circuit. Of course, everybody knows it very well. 18 corners around this fantastic, legendary Silverstone circuit. 18 degrees Celsius air temperature, 22 degrees Celsius track temperature. Nice, clear weather. Driver of the day for VGP2 at Monza was Simon Kovacic. Very well deserved, of course, in the qualifying. It is David Pachado who takes pole position, but by less than a tenth to Simon Kovacic, and then a sizable gap to Pavel Reigl, and then an even bigger gap actually down to Jaroslav Prohaska, who I have to say, actually qualifying in 4th position, though. That's a great result for him, but those are some pretty sizable gaps. The top three really sort of separating themselves from the rest of the field, you have to say.
Yeah, but here we are at the start of the sprint race. The engine revs doth rise, and the lights come on. It is time to wind them up and let them. How long is it going to hold for? The nerves are jangling, and away we go for the sprint race. Can Pachada hold on to that top spot ahead of Kovacic as they swing round into the first turn there? Whoop! And that's someone flying off very wide as they come through the first few turns now into the first heavy braking zone of Village, and it does that. And Reigl up into second in that lovely Acer car. We've loved that livery all season long and continue to do so. That's very deep. Oh, impact! A huge incident at the loop. That is 4 or 5 cars involved in that full course yellow. I'm not surprised. Oh my goodness me! Now that could have gone worse with these single-seaters, but goodness me, what a shame! That's a good start for the first few turns, and then complete chaos. As now people are going to have to do the full. Well, the sprint race is going to be dramatically shorter now. It's going to be under full course yellow for a lap, but well, I did not see that coming.
Yeah, Bušek with all 4 wheels off the ground, getting fully airborne and outright mounting some other cars in that Smarty car that we're having a look at now. So he is able to continue on, and we will find out pretty shortly here who's going to be coming into the pits and getting those repairs done. Worth pointing out, while we've got the time, that everybody did start the race on the soft compound tires, so everybody has gone for the same tire compound. We have seen some variations previously in the sprint races as far as the tire compound of choice, but it seems not so much the case here today, as Reigl's doing a bit of weaving. But yeah, it is David Pachada that leads after that start here at Silverstone. I imagine he's going to be feeling pretty good about the way things are going so far. Someone who's probably not feeling too great is Kovacic in that Logitech car. I imagine he is not super thrilled about that start, and probably going to be one of the cars coming into the pits potentially. I mean, he made contact with several cars. I want to say 3 or 4, nearly half the grid made contact with that Logitech car. And indeed, the Smarty car of Bušek is in. Kovacic in the Logitech car as well is into the pits, and they will be taking some repairs. Is anybody else coming into the pits? I'm not seeing any more cars. Yeah, so it does seem to be primarily that previously airborne Smarty car, and then the Logitech of Kovacic. Those are the only 2 pitting.
I'm surprised. I really did expect to see at least 3 or 4 coming in after that huge incident, but David Pachada was clear of it all before it all kicked off. He'll be quite happy about that, but it's academic really, because as soon as Bušek and Kovacic are released from the pits, they will have the opportunity to rejoin the back of the field. All that really happens is the timer is counted down. There's less time for Pachada in the Thrustmaster car to defend that top spot. Pavel Reigl, a lovely start, lovely outside manoeuvre coming from Village down to the loop to take that second spot before all hell broke loose. And Kovacic and Bušek looks like they've already, very nearly caught the back. Oh, there we go. There is the Logitech car. You can see at the top of the shot. Bušek only a couple of seconds behind him. So once they, the full course yellow should be relieved fairly soon. We shouldn't be having lots of laps. And there you can see half the field at the bottom of the screen. The VGP2 guys in the studio doing their thing, doing what VGP does best in getting these ace drivers in the same environment. It really does add to the atmosphere. Aha, and there it is. The full course yellow about to be receded, and we'll be back underway. But the nerves must be absolutely jangling. I mean, we're getting to the end of the season now. The championships are still available to fight for, but now with something like this, where they have to, go through the whole start again. They've planned it in their head. They know how they're going to launch off the line, but can they do the restart? Well, let us see. And Reigel's had a decent start, but look right behind them. Korny and Liška side by side. 2 side by sides, nearly 3 wide coming into Stowe. And Reigel nosing into the lead. Is he going to be able to get it done before they get down to Vale? No. Bracciano manages to get that done, but right behind them, the Sport car and the Forza car, Korny and Kujala, are fighting for third position at the moment. And that is Bracciano. He's fallen down behind Reigel. He's had a terrible run through the last few turns into club, and there goes Korny on the inside of Abbey. He can't quite get it done. The direction of the track goes back to the Thrustmaster car. Oh my goodness me. That's an unfortunate spin. That's going to drop him along with Jelenik in the Predator car. Miles off the pace now, but he's going to have to work very, very hard to catch that back up. And there you see Korny in the Sport car now fending off Liška in Benzina. But wow, great effort there from Reigel, keeping the pressure on, and now has the lead.
Kujala is really piling the pressure on into Brooklands as well, looking like he was possibly going to try and go around the outside. Looking a little bit further back, you can see Kovacic already gaining positions. He's already made his way up into 8th. We're on board with Hurtnecki in 6th position at the moment. He's got Liška in that Benzina car just up ahead, and he's got Prohaska right behind him, and Kovacic, who knows he's quick, right behind as well. And Hurtnecki's gone off the circuit at the exit of Kops there. That's going to lose him a little bit of time. But yeah, I fully expect Kovacic, especially with the grid as tight as it is. Kovacic, don't forget, is going to have fresher tires compared to everybody else, as is Bušek. These guys they were at the front. They did very well in qualifying. Kujala, though, looking to take that 3rd place position back off of Korny in the Spurt car. He's going to look to go around the outside.
Nice.
Actually, no. He gets the position even before the braking zone at Stowe. Moves himself up into a podium position as the top 2 starting to break away now, actually. Reigel building an over 1 second gap to Pachata down in that Thrustmaster car. But I have to say, Kujala actually starting to close the gap on Pachata very quickly here. And here is Kovacic. As I said, he's definitely going to be very interested on making some moves here. And it looks like Hurtnecki getting blocked a little bit by the RPS car of Jaroslav Prohaska. Can he make the move? Kovacic stays behind for the meantime, going through Abbey, through Farm now, into Village. Can he get up the inside? No, not quite on the Avast car. Hurtnecki defends that position for the meantime. But on the left-hand side, that's Bušek. Yeah, that's Bušek in the Smarty car, trying to make the overtake on Kovacic. They're going to be side by side as they come onto the Wellington straight. And let's see if he can stick it around the outside. I would say the outside line is actually the better line through Brooklands here, because it'll get you the inside line. But no, it hasn't worked out for Kovacic. He loses out to Bušek, who is on an absolute flyer right now. Who knows where he would have been had he not been caught up in that incident in the first lap.
Absolutely. I don't know that the time lap's going to be all that much different, because they didn't do very many laps before the incident. Oh, Kovacic wanting to make a move coming into Kops again. There's no real braking zone there, so it can be done. Fernando Alonso did it a few years ago, so it can be done, but it's very, very brave. Yeah, it was a rare moment of hesitation from Kovacic as he came out of Aintree. He was feathering the throttle coming through Abbey, and that really put him under pressure from Bušek. Now Kovacic in the Logitech car, closing in, didn't make the move coming in. Stowe, he's gone a little bit deep. This is a little bit unusual. Usually Kovacic kind of gets into the distance and then runs. Yeah. So he's certainly got the pace, but it doesn't seem quite there. He's not quite got that real cutthroat kind of pace and his method of attacking that we've seen pretty much all season long. Pavel Reigel gets the new fastest lap now, 2 seconds clear of David Pachada in the Thrustmaster car. But yeah, this is a little bit unusual from Kovacic. We've seen him attack so well and make so many great manoeuvres in the past. He seems very, very hesitant. It's a little bit unusual. Maybe he's just not wanting to take any unnecessary risk. But this is the sprint race. You don't have time on your side. There's a clue in the name. He can't take it too easy. And again, he's a long way away from the apex of Brooklands. I mean, that one's a little bit... You can go quite wide there because here in Luffield is very soon after Brooklands, so you don't have to hit the apex. But, very close to Woodcote. Let's see how he deals with Cops. He's going to close in a little bit on Bushek. That's quite tight. But, again, you heard how he backed away. And look at the gap. Look at the time he's lost to Bushek. He does seem very, very hesitant.
Yeah, it's timid, really, actually, and maybe he's got some sort of damage or something like that. We can only speculate. Oh, that's a great opportunity, though, for Kovacic. He's gotten a much better exit coming onto the hangar straight. They are going to be side by side down towards Stowe, but it looks like he's actually got the overspeed. He's going to be able to take the racing line, moves himself back ahead of that Smarty car, up into 8th position, and hopefully for his sake, he can continue that charge. But you're right, he definitely doesn't seem to be sort of in the mental space or have that outright speed that we're so used to seeing from him. So who knows what we're going to see. There's only just over 11 minutes plus 1 lap remaining in this sprint race. So yeah, that full course yellow has really taken down some of the time that we have in this race. So Kovacic really needs to get his work going. He's going to have to try and make some overtakes as quickly as he can here to try and make up some positions and pick up some points here. Up at the front, though, Rigel continues to pull the gap to Pachata. It's now about 3 seconds or so, and then it's another 1.5 seconds or thereabouts down to the Forza car of Kujela. Here comes Kovacic, though, up to the back of Hertnecki. Is he going to make anything happen into Luffield? No, he's going to be a bit too far back through Brooklands, not quite able to make anything happen there. You can see he takes a much tighter line through Luffield there. You can see his line difference. You can see it on the previous lap compared to Bushek, and you can see it again there compared to Hertnecki. And he's gotten a great run, actually. He's going to be nose to tail, but this is what we need to be focused on, actually, as Yaroslav Prohaska tries to defend from... oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. That's the RPS car staying ahead just about. Bushek still not giving up. Oh, no. Oh, that's a big moment for the Benzina car. Just about manages to slide, quite literally, his way in between two cars. That was Lishka going off there. And unfortunately for him, that is the nature of this circuit. It can really bite you back. Bushek, though, has gotten the run down the hangar straight, and he's retaken the position exactly 1 lap later on Kovacic. This is a heck of a dogfight.
Absolutely. How on earth everybody avoided Lishka? It was incredible. That I was bracing myself for an almighty great impact, and I imagine he was as well, but no, they all managed to avoid him. Well done. As Kovacic, as you said, Justin, is been passed again by Bushek. Oh, that's a little bit close coming into Village. So, yeah, Bushek is certainly alive. He would have certainly been... Oh, but he keeps making those little mistakes. We saw him go a little bit too deep into Chapel that cost him the position to Kovacic last time around, but he certainly got the pace. He'll be back on Kovacic's case very, very quickly. Here's our race leader. Pavel Rigel just kind of taking the Kovacic mantle of running off into the distance. There's our poleman, Pajada. He's about 3.5 seconds back now. Now, there could be an element of let's not be too silly, let's kind of get into a position and stay in the rhythm. But, yeah, we will see. I'll be surprised. And there is the end of that incident with Lishka just managing to slide over the... there it is again from the beginning. Oh, that's so close to the back of Kovacic's car. It's unreal. He was very, very lucky. But, well, I'd say lucky. He was lucky to avoid it, and everyone else was very skilled to avoid him. There's Hertnecki in 6th position on the back of the RPS car. They've been scrapping quite well. About 1.5 seconds back to Kovacic. So if they start to fight, that'll help the Logitech car get involved in that particular battle. But, yeah, the top 3 are fairly, well, comparatively spread out now. Prohaska has lost some time on Carney because he's fending off the Avast car. So this scrap's got some way to go, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if Bushek and Kovacic start crossing swords again.
Yeah, I'd say this is probably the battle for the highest position at the moment that we have is between Hertnecki and Prohaska, and it is rather close between the two of them. It is impressive to see just how on the edge these cars are at Silverstone, because of course you have those violent changes of direction through Maggots and Beckett's, even through Brooklands here as well. It's a rather low-speed corner as well, but you're going from hard left into a hard right, and you're not getting too much in the way of downforce at the speeds that they're making that direction change in. So very easy to lose the back end on this car, as we've already seen from Lishka, and I'm not surprised to see that sort of incident happening. I think we'll probably see more of that this weekend, not just from the VGP2 drivers, but probably from the VGP1 drivers as well, of course, as we've got the sprint and feature races from those guys still to come. But through Maggots and Beckett's once again, just over 7 minutes to go, still in this race from Silverstone. And you have to say Hurtnecki is further back than he has been from Jaroslav Prohaska, so definitely losing a little bit of time. You can see the previous laps, he was actually 2/10 quicker, but I have a feeling when we find out the lap times at the end of this lap, we're going to see maybe a 3 or 4 tenths difference between the RPS car and the Avast car as they make their way down into the last heavy braking zone of the lap and through the right-handers, and it does seem that Hurtnecki maybe closed up just a little bit there, but that's definitely a bigger gap compared to what we saw on the previous lap, and indeed it is about 0.4 of a second. I almost perfectly called that between Prohaska and Hurtnecki. So seemingly Hurtnecki just having a little, or excuse me, Prohaska having just that little bit better of a lap compared to Hurtnecki. And I mean, if he could do that a couple more times, he'll pull out enough of a gap where he really won't have to worry too much about that Avast car. However, on the flip side of that, I think Hurtnecki really needs to start worrying about Kovacic because he has absolutely eliminated that gap that existed previously. And if he's not careful, Kovacic is going to take that 6th place position off him.
If nothing else, he'll drag Bušek with him, as Bušek was gaining on Kovacic for a few laps. That gap has now started to increase between the Logitech and Smarty cars. Here we are on board with the Logitech car of Kovacic, currently in 7th, chasing down Hurtnecki in the Avast car. Seems to be a little bit more kind of getting back to his normal rhythm, even though there's, it's less than 6 minutes to go. Ooh, caught a lot of the apex there. That's going to pull the car over to the left. That will help the car rotate, but you've got to be ready to catch it. Otherwise, well, we've already seen the result. You go off and do some lawn mowing. So Kovacic is now less than a second from Hurtnecki. Now, it depends how hard the Avast car is going to defend, because I can easily imagine Bušek is going to get involved in this battle, as the RPS car of Prohaska really does seem to be just gradually and slowly opening that gap. It's also, I've just realised, Korony and Kujela are getting close together as well. They're only a second apart. The Sport and Forza cars looking to do battle once again for the last podium spot. There we go, looking at Hurtnecki and Kovacic at the bottom of the screen. As we come into Village once again, now the Avast car under a lot of pressure as we come into the loop. Who's going to get the better exit from Aintree onto the Wellington Straight? Very, very close for Kovacic, now well inside slipstream range. And wow! That was a done deal. Hurtnecki didn't even try and defend that one. And yeah, sometimes you got to realise when the battle is already lost. And Hurtnecki lets Kovacic go, so he's not going to lose any real time. He's going to want to stay in that slipstream as best he can, which is very difficult to do when you're coming into Maggots and Beckett's, as we're coming up to do. As Kovacic opens up the line, coming through Copse with that Avast car in Hobson. Now, Kovacic may not feel the need to defend too much from Hurtnecki, bearing in mind how easy he's just passed him. There at the top of the shot, you've got the smarter car of Bušek, who is closing that gap ever so slightly as they come through the very fast bar. Maggots, Beckett's, Chapel now on the Hangar Straight, heading towards Stowe. And that's still another 1.5 seconds between Kovacic and Prohaska. 4 minutes to go. That's not impossible with the pace that Kovacic is now kind of getting on board. But look at the fastest laps. You can see in the bottom right, it's not even a tenth. It's not even 200ths of a second apart last time around. So Prohaska has got the pace to keep Kovacic at bay.
Yeah, this is really tense stuff, actually, with less than 4 minutes still to go, actually, in this sprint race. I have a feeling that Hurtnecki, he knows his target is more Prohaska rather than Kovacic, so I don't think he wanted to get too involved in any sort of battling with the Logitech car. Oh, that's not a great exit, though, through there. I saw a bit of a lockup in the background there as well for Bušek, so I think he may have lost a little bit of time. But yeah, I don't think Hurtnecki was interested in fighting Kovacic, because mainly his target is probably Jaroslav Prohaska. However, Prohaska doing very well, you have to say. He's been maintaining that gap at the moment. He really isn't coming under any sort of threat. Hurtnecki probably hoping that he can use the slipstream of that Logitech car ahead of him just to try and close that gap a little bit to the RPS car and see if he can maybe gain a position in this race after losing that 6th place to Kovacic. He can get back up there and possibly ahead of Prohaska. At the moment, it doesn't look like that's really going to work out for him. But similarly, if he had been fighting with Kovacic, then he might be under a lot more attack from Bušek behind as well, too. So that could be another part that's playing into his mind. And then here you go. This is the Kujela-Korony battle that we saw getting closer and closer. Kujela really does have that spurt car of Korony all over the back of him as they come to the end of this lap. Just less than 2.5 minutes remaining plus 1 lap. So I think that's going to be 3 more laps in this race for these guys. So this should be their third to last lap that they're starting on here. So let's see if Koreny can make anything happen. This is, of course, for the final podium position, as it really looks like Rigel and Pachada have broken away in this race. I don't think they're going to be challenged in this race here at Silverstone, so I think that's probably the way they're going to finish, unless there's any sort of massive mistakes. But Koreny looking to move himself up into a podium position after what has been a fairly hectic sprint race, let's be honest. And with the slipstream here, he's going to still be a couple of car lengths back behind the Forza cars to get into the braking zone for Brooklyn. So nothing happening at the moment between that pairing, but they are very, very close to one another. And possibly Koreny just looking for the moment anyway, just to apply that pressure and see if maybe he can force Kujela into even a tiny mistake would be enough to see him get past that Forza car. But looking backwards from Prohaska, seeing that Logitech car behind him, and is he going to be close enough? No, he's not going to make anything happen there. The Spurt car continues to be very, very close to the back of Kujela, but Kujela seems nice and strong through there. You can see the very different lines that they're taking. Oh, that's wide for Kujela. I think that might lose him a little bit of time. He could come under attack here through Stowe. It also comes down to how much downforce he has, because of course if Kujela has a lot less downforce on his car, he's going to easily stay ahead of the Spurt car on the run down to Stowe.
Yeah, indeed. Silverstone is one of those tracks that needs a well-balanced setup. You've got some decent and significant straights, but you've got to have a car that would change direction at speed, comfortably and nice and settled. You can't have something that's too twitchy, otherwise you're just going to go off into the dust very, very, very easily. Koreny again challenging the back of Kujela. He's not got long to go. He's only got a couple of laps left to make this move. Oh, the rear tyres starting to get a little bit grumpy with him. I would imagine if they were in the feature race, they probably would have ditched these soft tyres by now. Now surely he's going to get the slipstream now. Kujela goes to the middle of the road to try and defend. Oh, that is close. Koreny wants the inside line coming into Brooklands, but that's going to put him on the outside. For Luffield, can he get it done? A little bit deep coming through Brooklands, but he does get the move done. But right there is Kovacic and Hernecki. So, the day is not done for Prohaska yet. He's got more to defend against. And look at that. That is not the sight anybody wants in their rearview mirrors, as the ever-looming presence of Kovacic chasing off after them. Whoa, that's wide. That's very wide for Prohaska. He's not going to lose too much pace there, but that could well go against him later on. Now back into Maggots and Beckett. Once again, Kovacic just needs to bide his time, get the power down when he needs it into Chapel. But, of course, that RPS car's got Kujela, the Forza car, right ahead of him to slipstream off of to defend against him. So this is going to be all down to pressure management and forcing that mistake.
Kujela's not very quick out there at the moment, I have to say. I think he was lapping in the high 29s. You can see Prohaska and Kovacic both in the low 29s. So that Forza car, even as they come onto the final lap, I have a feeling he's going to have a hard time maintaining that fourth place position. Now, the one thing that could help him out a lot here, actually, is if Kovacic involves himself with Prohaska. That could give Kujela the breathing space that he needs to maintain that fourth place position at the end of this race, because it is the final lap of this sprint race. You can see just how close they are through the loop there. Very, very close. There we go. That's the view that we want to see on board with the Forza car of Kujela. But you can see Prohaska has gotten a much better exit. He is closing right up to the back of him. Goes to the inside line. Does Kujela for Brooklands. And he's going to defend it. He's going to just about hold on to that position. He goes a bit wide. Gives him a bit of a squeeze. I think that was fair. But now here comes the Logitech car of Kovacic. He's going to try it around the outside through Luffield. It's very long right-hander. Very difficult to go around the outside at Luffield. And this is actually working out very well for Kujela. He really only needs to defend one more time into Stowe. If he can get a good run through Maggots and Beckett's, then I think he might be able to hold on to this fourth place position, especially if Kovacic is going to involve himself in the battle with Prohaska. Hernecki as well, not that far behind. So this is essentially a four-way battle for fourth position. Koreny, I think, is pretty safe. He's built about a 1 second gap down to Kujela, so I think he's going to get that final podium position. But this battle for fourth is raging on. Let's see if Prohaska is going to be close enough into Stowe. He's not. I think Kujela is going to actually hang on to that fourth place position.
Could well be, but your winner here in the sprint race for VGP2 is Pavel Rigel, and there's Kovacic again, closing up with a heavy braking zone. That is Vale, but he's not going to be able to do anything in these last few turns. So Prachada 2, Koreny 3, Kujela 4, Prohaska 5, Kovacic 6, Hernecki 7, Bushek 8, and they all happen. All of those finishes happened within about 3 seconds of one another, and look how far back Lishka was after his earlier spins in the Benzina car. Oh, it's gone horribly, horribly wrong. He's not last, ironically. He's gone worse for Yananik and Vanashek in the Predator and Legion cars, respectively. But that's the way it goes sometimes. But you cannot take it away from Pavel Rigel. So to confirm then, there it is, Pavel Reichel with the fastest lap as well. He got the full sweep of points available. And then is Prachada 2, Korony 3, Kuziela 4. Look at that. The times are so close. Kovacic 5, Herdnicki 6, Bušek 7. Prohaska demoted down to 8th with a 20-second penalty. And Liška, Jelinek and Vanešek rounding out the points positions.
Wow. Well, here we go for the feature race. Unbelievable stuff. Oh, and as if he needs it, Kovacic is actually starting from pole position as a result of that race, of that sprint race. So here we go with the Logitech on pole, and Jaroslav Prohaska, who was very quick in that sprint race, starting alongside him on the front row of the grid. Kuziela, again, I think a fantastic 4th. Looks like he's already going to lose a position to Korony, though a terrible start as well for Prohaska. Oh, a lot of cars off the circuit there. I wonder if no, there's not going to be any sort of major contact or anything, but oh, look at that, Prohaska up the inside on Kuziela. Kuziela's just about going to, oh my God, and Pavel Reichel. Okay, I thought for a moment he was a genius, but it turns out he's just made a mistake and shot right up in between the two of them. Oh, and he rejoins the circuit a bit unsafely, I have to say there, and makes contact with Bušek in the Smarty car. He goes spinning off of the circuit. And he's not going to be happy about that, but Kuziela maintaining that 3rd place position just about. Now here comes Bušek again. He's going to be side by side with Korony through left field, but it looks like the Spurt car does get the better exit, manages to maintain that position. But wow, what a start for Bušek it's been. And look at Kovacic, he's already gone.
Yeah, Kovacic is long gone, and that's a very long way for Korony to go off the track.
No.
It's going to be 3.
No,
That was only ever going to go horribly wrong. Spinning. How the heck did nobody hit Bušek then? My goodness me, we are seeing some crazy, crazy things going on here at Silverstone for the VGP2 guys. My goodness me, that's so much to kind of keep up with. It's absolutely unreal. Prachada on the back of the Benzina cars they come into Stowe once again. Also bearing in mind that we've got Prohaska and Kuziela starting on the medium tyres. Oh, that's a real bunching up as they come into Vale. Very, very close. There's the Avast car of Herdnicki trying to get involved, and there's a big old snap of oversteer from 2 cars. The Sport car at the front of this train, all bouncing off of his Prachada. As he hit the side of, I think it was Kuziela in the Forza car. But look at this, all fighting for the same spot. They're essentially stuck behind. Ironically, they're stuck behind Korony, it looks like, but so, you know, there's no reason why Korony shouldn't be able to run off into the distance, except for the fact he's defending against the entire horde. He's got so many people he has to worry about. Oh, and there's Kuziela! As Kuziela around those medium tyres, just not behaving themselves at the moment. He'll get back on. There is Pavel Reichel after his craziness in the first lap. Oh no, there goes Korony now. What is going on? Is there oil on the track? Are these tyres already bald? This is incredible.
Somebody is dropping banana peels. I am absolutely convinced of this fact. At any given time so far in this feature race, I think there's actually as many cars off the circuit as there are on the circuit. This is absolutely wild. I've never seen anything like this in VGP, to be totally honest. I don't know what it is exactly. Maybe the drivers are having a hard time getting used to the heavy fuel. I mean, meanwhile, off in La La Land, Kovacic is just driving around. He's just doing hot laps at this moment, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. The Spurt car dropping down once again as Kuziela makes his way up into 9th position ahead of Korony, who, again, is having a very surprising core race at the moment. You have to feel for Kuziela as well, too. Again, started very, very high up, had a great finish in 4th position in the sprint race as well, too. And I thought was doing very well on the medium compound tires. I don't know if he spun on his own or if he had some assistance from somebody. That we didn't see. We kind of, you know, by the time we saw him, he was already sideways. So I don't know exactly what happened with the Forza car of Kuziela. Korony's been into the pits. He's into the pits now. So that's probably going to be to go onto a set of hard compound tires, I would imagine, or at least a set of medium compound tires to go until the end of the race. So we'll keep an eye on that to find out what the Spurt driver is going to be going on to. But back on board with Liška here in the Benzina's car. He's getting very close to the back of Herdnicki, who now finds himself in a podium position. Also, shout out to Jaroslav Prohaska, who now has, as a result of all this insanity, a 7-second gap to Herdnicki. He's in 2nd position, and he's on medium compound tires. This could be Jaroslav Prohaska's day. I mean, well, really, I think it's going to be Kovacic's day, let's be honest. But this could also be a big day for Jaroslav Prohaska, I think.
It's looking very, very strong, but look how many incidents we've already had. So let's just wait until let's wait until we get to the closing stages before we start to think who's going to be where. Oh, who's that off?
Corny.
Oh my goodness me! How easily that can just undo. Was it Corny off?
Wait, are you talking about down at the bottom, the person who's getting out of their chair? Oh, okay, that's what I was talking about.
Oh dear, it's gone horribly wrong. Corny in the pits. No, someone was on the side of the track. I was wondering who that was going to slay. It was Vanashek in the Legion car. So, Corny had been really slipping and sliding. Maybe he had some kind of technical problem, but he will not be rejoining. Well, unless he's changing car. Maybe he'll come out. Maybe he'll come out in the GT3 or something. Or come out in the DTM car, because wow, did we have a lot of fun with those earlier in the season. Kuzella's doing a great job hanging on to the back of the sprint race winner, Pavel Reigl. Bearing in mind that Kuzella is also on the medium tyres as well. They should start to come good around about now. The soft tyres, would have been up to temperature a while ago, but the medium tyres should now start to really come good. And Prohaska is doing a great job, as you've already mentioned, up there in second position, just holding his own. Kovac is just gone, and we don't really expect to see him again until the checker flag falls. But who knows? If the banana peels reappear, then we will see. Lishka and Hernecki is another potential battle we've got. They're less than a second apart. The rest of the field, I think we're going to have to wait for either a mistake or the pit stop phase before we start to see any real close battling again. Although Pachada is kind of knocking on the door of getting under a second between himself and Lishka, so we could see a three-way battle for third. I think we said that quite a few times in the last race too. So we will see. So much could happen. Well, so much already has happened. We'll see what the rest of the race holds.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, again, this has been one of the weirder races I've ever seen in VGP. And I mean, this season as a whole has been hugely entertaining. Let's not muck about when it comes to that. Here's a replay of when Corny went wide. Yeah, and this was the moment. You might have noticed me saying, oh no, even before the accident happened. Yeah. And that's because they were going 3 wide into Maggots and Beckett's. That is never going to end well for anybody. And this is where we saw, I think Kuzella might have been touched by David Pachada in the Thrustmaster car there. Again, even with that replay, by the time you go off board with the camera, he's already in the process of spinning. So we don't have a great view of what happened to Kuzella as he was coming onto the Wellington straight there out of Aintree. But I have a feeling he might have had a little bit of a touch from David Pachada, because that Thrustmaster car was right around there. It is very similar. Now, it wouldn't have been a lag incident because, of course, this is a studio race, and we can see, Corny just spun on his own. Absolutely, nobody touched Corny. There is nobody else involved in that sort of. The only thing that we can possibly hypothesize is that Corny already had some sort of damage or something like that in the chaos of everything that had happened, and he got onto the brakes and locked up the rears, and the back end just stepped out, and at that point you're just a passenger, you're barely controlling it. But here we go. Pavel Reigl makes his way past the who is that actually? Was that Vanashek? No, I think that was Jelinek. Yeah, that was Jelinek. Yep, you're exactly right. But here we go, Lishka and Pachada. This was something that you pointed out, Chris, as getting closer and closer. It seems that Hernecki has pulled away from Lishka, and Lishka is now falling back into the hands of David Pachada in the Thrustmaster car. So, we were thinking maybe a 3-way battle for third, but actually a 2-way battle for fourth is seeming more likely now.
It looks like it. Pachada looks pretty determined to stay on the back of the Benzina car. He's been... and that looked a little bit twitchy coming into Brooklands for Lishka. But, Pachada has been closing this gap slowly but surely over the last few laps. We've been keeping an eye on the times as well. So this is a battle currently for fourth. Hernecki's not that far ahead of them either. So I did surmise that we would have a 3-way battle for the last podium slot. Oh, no, again!
Another banana peel.
Another banana skin. Yep. And, that looks... Oh, that's not a happy car.
No.
Lishka once again.
Ooh.
Yep, that's a very angry car. He's trying to shake. It's trying to shake his driver out. But
he's got the lowrider suspension upgrade.
Yeah, that's it. So more problems before Lishka. What a shame. Running fairly solidly, and then disaster decided to strike, and that just goes to show how quickly it can happen to anyone. So no one is secure in any of their positions. We could find Kovacic upside down in a hedge before the checkered flag falls for all we know. So they take their eye off the ball for a split second, and that's a very fast part of the course where that happened. That can happen to anyone.
Oh yeah, it sure can. I have to say, Kujela is probably going to be thinking that Jelinek is going to be easy pickings here. Just looking at the lap time difference, it's about 0.7 of a second, and Kujela would have clocked that. Of course, when you're in the cockpit of one of these cars, you can visually see like, oh yes, I am closing up to this person very quickly. By the way, Lishka is into the pits, so if he's got any sort of damage or anything like that, or if he's just trying to get rid of those tires that he doesn't want anymore, he's going to take care of that now. Just about 32 minutes plus 1 lap still to go in this feature race. We do still have 10 drivers. Yep, Lishka is out of the pits, so he wasn't headed into the pits to retire, so that's always good to see. He is continuing on. Of course, any positions he can gain will be for points, considering that it is now a 10-car race with Corney having retired. So if he can gain any positions whatsoever, that's just going to improve his standings in the championship, or at least his points tally, if not actually improving his standings. But Kujela, again, I think is going to be really keen to make this overtake on Jelinek as quickly as possible. And this is on board with Pichata, and you can see he just goes a little bit onto the curb. It wasn't even that much. It wasn't even that much for Lishka, just the left wheels. He didn't even go all 4 wheels onto the curbing. And unfortunately, it just put him around, put him into the barrier, and then that's when the bunny hopping started going on for him. And then that's what sent him into the pits, dropped him down into 10th position. He is onto a set of medium tires, which we do think should be able to take him to the end of the race. Kujela, interestingly enough, closed up to the back of Jelinek. Let's look at the previous laps. Yeah, he was only a tenth quicker, a tenth and a half quicker than Jelinek on the previous lap. So I wonder if he's caught some dirty air or something like that, but it wasn't a great lap, last lap for Kujela. So I don't know if maybe it's the medium tires, but again, I would expect those softs on the Predator car up ahead to really be falling off at this point. That's another big mistake for one of the drivers. They really seem to be struggling out there. I have to say, Chris, I'm very surprised about this. Silverstone is one of the tracks that racing drivers as a whole tend to be very, very familiar with, but we're seeing a lot of mistakes today.
Yeah, when I was at Silverstone last year, I remember there was an accident at that very turn at Brooklands. I was actually stood on the inside, and God, you did not hear a bang, because they, coming down the Wellington Straight, as we've just seen, the speed they carry is quite considerable. But yeah, we are seeing a very uncharacteristic amount of mistakes. The replay director for this race has had more work to do today than he has done pretty much all season long. But that's the nature of the beast there, and yeah, that's another thing that the studio environment can kind of generate, I guess, is everybody is there, everyone is kind of feeling the tension off of everybody else, and it seems to be showing. The VGP2 drivers making a few more mistakes than they normally would do. And there is, who are we looking at
Prohaska
here? That's the RPS. Yeah, that's Prohaska. He's 7 seconds behind Kovacic. You won't see him at the top of the shot. He's long gone.
He's maintaining that lead on Hurtnecki, though. I have to say I'm impressed.
Yeah, absolutely. If anything, it's been steadily growing. Of course, Kovacic is doing Kovacic things and running off. But as he's running off, actually, I'm looking at the gap. It's growing, but it's not growing drastically lap on lap, as you would expect. The raw pace difference.
He was slower last lap.
Yeah, just realised that actually. Yeah, so maybe the soft tyres are beginning to give up a little bit, and the medium tyres are, going to be coming really into the, into the strength of their life. Again, look at Kujela and Jelinek. The battle for sixth. There's exactly the same thing. Liska, of course, has gone on to those medium tyres after his probably earlier than planned stop. So yeah, Prohaska is on course for a very, very strong result.
Oh yeah, this would be a heck of a result for Jaroslav Prohaska, and honestly, a big part of his success here today. No, and this isn't meant to diminish it in any way whatsoever, but a big part of his success is just keeping the thing pointed in the right direction. And honestly, that's a big part of Kovacic's success here today as well, too. Kovacic, again, as we've seen, let's see, on the previous laps, it's not a huge difference. He's only about 0.6 of a second quicker than Prohaska. That's not a massive amount, especially when you consider that Kovacic is on a set of softs. So it seems that potentially that last lap where Kovacic was in the 130s and considerably slower than Prohaska, maybe that was just a bit of a fluke, made a bit of a mistake. Obviously, we're not really seeing Kovacic on our screens because of the gap that he has. It wouldn't make for the most entertaining broadcast if we were just focused on Kovacic at the moment. So, we have no idea if he made any sort of mistakes. Yep, just like that. Thank you, director. But yeah, we don't know if he's made any sort of mistakes or anything like that. But again, I have to say this is a fantastic race for Jaroslav Prohaska, and I am crossing all my fingers and toes that I did not just curse him.
We've been known to do that once or twice in the in our commentary live and in this season alone. Also, I'm looking at Kujela has gotten past Jelinek for 6th position. I'm just looking at the gaps. I saw that was getting close, but Kujela in the Forza car now really getting into his stride. What's the lap times? Lap times again. It's only about 6/10 difference between Prohaska and Kovacic. Bear in mind, Kovacic isn't. Well, neither of them are under pressure from anyone. So they're not defending. They're not having to take any unusual lines. Anything they haven't practiced or anything like that. They are just hitting their marks. Exactly as you said earlier, Justin. They're essentially hot lapping because there's no one anywhere near them. See the late again. Only 3/10 apart. So. I'm just really, really impressed with Prohaska's performance. He's had a little bit of a mixed season, I think it's fair to say. But here's a great battle forming, though. I thought this was going to be 3 wide at one point. 3 deep at one point, but it's Hertnecki and Prachada fighting for the last podium spot. This has been coming for a while. You heard Prachada just spin up the wheels on the exit of Aintree. They'll want to ditch these tyres. In about, I'm hazarding a guess, around about 2 to 3 laps time, we'll see the soft starters get rid of them. Yeah. As we're approaching the halfway stage. Medium tyres will easily do from probably now to the end of the race with some degradation, but not a massive amount. These soft tyres will start to really hurt in the next few laps. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have a bit of a flood of the soft starters, get rid of them in the next few laps, as mentioned. But Prachada has been closing in on Hertnecki for lap on lap on lap, just slowly but surely edging that away. And those sort of things can weigh on a driver's mind. We've mentioned this before about something I always go on about is pressure management in the form of handling it and applying it. Hertnecki would be well aware that Thrustmaster car has been just slowly but surely closing in on him. And it can really get into your head, especially if you're trying to push to get away from them, and yet that gap continues to drop. It can really kind of burrow into your head. What else can I do to get this guy off my tail? But Hertnecki doing a pretty good job of just hitting his lines and doing what he needs to do, and Prachada equally doing well in just slowly but surely nibbling away at that particular gap. We've seen all too often in this race and the previous ones what happens when you push too hard too quickly. He got away with that. He hit the Aintree apex a little bit hard, but he's going that slowly. It doesn't really make much difference. So, we're seeing some quite chaotic driving from some people, but some really good performances.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about Hertnecki and Prachada. Hertnecki is doing a good job, and Prachada's just doing a marginally better job. It's very little between the two of them, but you can see it on a corner-by-corner basis. You can see Prachada just getting, those few extra centimeters closer to the apex compared to Hertnecki. You can see him just carrying that little bit more speed through the corner, holding that slightly tighter line, all of that kind of stuff. He's being that little bit more aggressive on the curbing there through Maggots and Becketson into Chapel and onto the Hangar Straight. So yeah, you can see just the minor differences. It's only about a 1/10.5 as far as the previous lap as Vanashek is into the pits, and he is going to be the next one to get rid of those soft compound tires. Most of the ones that we've seen into the pits, indeed all of them, were people that were coming in as a result of issues and that kind of stuff. So he's really sort of the first of the planned pit stoppers. So you called that one, Chris, no doubt about that. And I have a feeling we're going to start to see a lot more of the soft runners. And in particular, I wouldn't be surprised to see either Hertnecki or Prachada into the pits at the end of this lap. Hertnecki in an effort to try and defend from the Thrustmaster car behind, and Prachada in an effort to try and overtake Hertnecki in the pit stop phase. You can see it's very, very close between the two of them. Only half of a tenth of a second on the previous lap between the two of them.
Wow.
And this time, it was actually in the favor of Hertnecki. So he's actually managed to find a little bit time, or actually I should say he's lost a little bit less time compared to Pichata because they are slowing down. Pavel Reigel's another driver that's been into the pits. He's going to come out on a set of brand new medium compound tires. He's dropped down to 6th position as a result of that pit stop. No, I'm sorry, he's actually dropped down to 7th position as a result of that pit stop. But let's see if Hertnecki and Pichata, either of these guys, possibly both of these guys, are going to be into the pits at the end of this lap. I have to say, Hertnecki on this lap seems to be the quicker car compared to Pichata. So of the two, I would say I think it's more likely that we're going to see the Thrustmaster car into the pits at the end of this lap. We're going to find out very soon. Very soon.
Race leader in, Kovacic, reminding us he's still with us. Brings his car in to get rid of those soft tyres. Prohaska is likely to take the lead of the race. Hertnecki has come in. Does Pichata follow suit, or does he do what you were thinking and continue? There is Prohaska to take over the lead of the race. Good on him for that. Pichata looks like he has continued, so he has not opted to match the strategy of the Avast car. He has gone on of his own accord. Will Bušek come in? Oh, there's Kovacic coming back out in 2nd place, so he'll lose very little as a result of that, with a fresh set of medium boots on. It's going to be interesting to see how the contra strategy stacks up to those that started on the soft. I don't think Kovacic is going to worry too much. He's come out in 3rd, I beg your pardon. I don't think he's going to worry too much. He had such a comfortable lead before the pit stop phase. He should maintain that once all the pit stops are done. Prohaska is, what's it, about 13, 14 seconds? Oh, well, it depends on which part of the circuit you're on. But yeah, anyway, 15, 16 seconds. Yeah, the pit lane loss is generally around about 25 seconds at Silverstone. So Kovacic has got nothing immediately to worry about unless the banana skins come out again and he does a bit of lawn mowing or tries to rearrange the barrier. We will see. Just 2 smart runners still on there. That's Pichata and Bušek, obviously choosing to extend their stint. I'm sure Prohaska is enjoying the stint at the front, as that is Rigel coming past Bušek. I doubt there's a lot of life left in Bušek's tyres. He wouldn't afford that. And yeah, Pichata's come in now, so watch where he falls in relation to Hertnecki. So this is going to be interesting to see where the Avast and Thrustmaster cars resume their fight.
I'm curious about Prohaska as well, as far as when he comes in, because of course you can run the soft tires longer if you're running them in your 2nd stint than you can if you're on your 1st stint, because the track has more rubber down on it, and as well your car is lighter on fuel. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the next couple of laps, to be honest, and I fully expect him to be the fastest car on circuit. I am expecting Jaroslav Prohaska to pick up the fastest lap as well. Pichata coming out of the pits now. He's going to be coming out right behind Hertnecki, actually, so that battle is going to resume as it was. He is going to have 1 lap fresher tires. I don't think that's going to make a huge difference, even come the end of the race, as far as the speed difference between these two guys, but worth keeping in mind that Pichata was that little bit quicker compared to the Avast car during the 1st stint, and I don't expect that to change too much. However, to overtake at Silverstone, you don't need to be a little bit quicker, you need to be quite a bit quicker, to be honest, because of course you have the long straight into Brooklands on the Wellington straight, but then you're going to lose time through Brooklands and Luffield if you weren't able to get alongside. Similarly, you have the run-ins into Kops coming out of Woodkit on the old start-finish straight, but then Kops is a very high-speed corner, so you're going to lose time if you're the car behind. As an example, there is Prohaska is indeed into the pits this lap, so even earlier than I was really thinking. I was thinking possibly the next lap we were going to see Prohaska come in, but I think he's playing maybe just a bit of a gamble for Jaroslav Prohaska in the RPS car, because he knows he's got that gap behind. He knows that he's a little bit safe from the car behind, so he can do a bit of a gamble here and possibly pressure Kovacic for that lead. And I have a feeling that you're right, Chris. I don't think he's really going to be a threat to Kovacic, but he's going to be keeping him honest, no doubt about that. He's going to be closing that gap in. He's going to be letting that Logitech driver know that he's behind, he is faster, and that even one mistake from Kovacic, and I think Prohaska is possibly going to pounce. He does come out just barely ahead of Kujela, but again, Prohaska on a brand new set of softs. I fully expect he will be the fastest car out on circuit now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Prohaska has jumped a little soon. I like yourself, I was expecting that to go on a lap or two longer at least, as Bušek is coming to get rid of his soft tyres. We will see, though. I mean, these guys have practiced and practiced and practiced this. They know how far they can push their cars, their setups, their own abilities on ailing tyres and where there's best grip on soft and mediums after how long. All this kind of stuff that we have no idea about in the commentary box. But we will see. I think he's blinked too soon. I think he'll probably close in some of the gap to Kovacic. I don't think he's going to have the tyres to challenge him. I'm going to go out on a limb and call that one. Not that I'm wanting it to be like that. Of course, you know, we always want to see racing. Oh, Buszek is brave. He's gone on the super soft tyres. Well, I guess he's down in ninth. He's got less to lose, I suppose. I think you're a little optimistic on that one, sir. I can't see those lasting, but we'll see. We will see as Prychada is continuing to hassle Hertnecki. Oh, that is Kujala that's come in. So he only went one lap further. He was kind of sticking to the strategy we were suggesting. So again, keep an eye on how Kujala's performance compares to Prohaska's, comparatively speaking, as they won't be anywhere near each other on track, of course. But yeah, that battle with Hertnecki and Prychada's getting very, very close. Closer than Hertnecki would like, I imagine.
Prychada definitely seems like he's on the attack here. He knows he's the quicker car. He closed that gap down to Hertnecki previously, so he knows he's quicker, but is he quicker enough? That's not great English, but is he quicker enough to actually make the overtake or even pull alongside the Avast car of Hertnecki? I'm just not so sure about that. Again, he seems to be the quicker car, but it has been very marginal. If you look at the previous lap, he was 0.6 of a second quicker compared to Hertnecki, but closing up to somebody and getting alongside somebody are two completely different things. This is something we've been talking about not just the entire season, but for our entire commentary careers. Anybody that watches racing or sim racing or all of the above will know that catching somebody is one thing, getting alongside them is another thing, moving ahead of them is yet another thing. You know, these are three completely different things, and it gets progressively more difficult as you go along. And it really also depends on how aggressive Hertnecki wants to defend that position. And I have to say, Hertnecki is going to know in his mind Prychada is faster, but he's not that much faster. So if I, just defend the inside line, even if he pulls alongside me, if I defend the inside line, what chance does he actually have of going around the outside on whatever corner we happen to be going into? And the answer is not much of a chance at all, to be honest. So yeah, I have a feeling that at this stage, I'm going to go advantage Hertnecki. Really, neither of these guys have been making any sort of massive mistakes, so I'm not going to expect any sort of massive mistakes from either of these drivers. And just purely by having track position, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say I think Hertnecki is going to be the one that claims this final podium position here. We will find out. We still have more than 15 minutes of racing still to go until we find out that final podium position, the final guys on the podium. However, at the moment, I would say the advantage is probably going to the Avast car of Hertnecki. Prychada really close behind. Rigel as well, within 5 seconds of this battle. I'm not going to discount him from potentially catching up to them. He would have to gain about 3/10 a lap, a little more than that, 4/10 a lap, something like that. But if they do start, and look at that, the director is being very kind to me today. But yeah, we could see this lovely green Acer liveried car get involved in this battle for third as well too. I'm not counting him out.
Nope, certainly not. I'm in full agreement with pretty much everything you've said there. Sounds very dull, but sometimes we commentators do agree on what each other say. Prychada is very close once again to Hertnecki, and Rigel will be right there just to kind of pick up the pieces. Oh, that looks a little bit deep coming into Abbey. No, manages to keep that one. Whoa! Oh, that's bold, but not going to stick, I'm afraid. But Prychada is determined. He wants to get that move done, and that would have rattled Hertnecki a little bit. But, exactly as you say, Hertnecki knows that he just needs to maintain his lines. So Prychada needs to kind of spring a surprise on him, like what we just seen on the outside of Village. It can work. Yeah, it was ironically something I witnessed happen at Silverstone last year. It was an amazing move, around the outside of Village to get the inside of Loop. It certainly can do it. But it takes a fair amount of bravery and cooperation from both sides in order to make it work. But something else I thought about earlier when we saw the pictures at the bottom where we can see of Prychada and Hertnecki, Look at Pachado, he's leaning forward, he's focused, you know, his eyes are full of determination. Hernecki looks far more relaxed, he looks a more Sunday driver kind of pose.
Agreed.
It's amazing the difference between the two. I'm sure Hernecki is focused and determined and all the other stuff, but he looks so much more relaxed, whereas Pachado looks quite a bit more tense. That's the way they are, that's the way they all have been all season. Also, you know, these guys have been racing against each other all season. Sounds a little bit obvious. Of course they have. We've been watching them. But therefore, they've got an idea on how well they stack up against their various competitors. They know that, you know, in certain areas they're stronger, certain areas they're weaker. They've raced against each other all season. But of course, they've done 3 or 4, if you include the sprint race we had earlier. They've done 4 races in this very car already. So they have an idea on where they could potentially hassle their opponents. Also, what I think we're seeing here between Pachado and Hernecki is a bit of a setup difference. You know, Pachado can really? You were a bit too far back for that one, but again, he's showing his nose. Oh, Pachado, no!
Oh, no.
Oh, no. What a shame. What I was trying to say was I think we might be seeing a setup difference where Pachado can reel him in, but just to the point where Pachado's setup is no longer stronger, Hernecki's comes good. And oh, what a shame. That was the merest mistake from Pachado. Just lost a little bit of rear traction, and that's cost him 10 seconds over Hernecki.
Yeah, it's lost him 1 position for sure, potentially even 2 positions, and potentially a podium finish as well, which always looks good on the stats, you know, to say you've had X amount of podiums or whatever. This is also, I would say, probably not great news for Hernecki. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Hernecki's probably missing David Pachado right now, as weird as that might sound, because Pavel Reigl is getting closer and closer, and he had a buffer. He had a buffer between himself and Reigl. That buffer is now gone. Also, I'd like to point out the fantastic display of the poor turning radius of this Mercedes-Benz Formula Hybrid car that we saw at Luffield there, as he was actually perpendicular to the track and still couldn't do the 90-degree left that he needed to do to get on track. Ended up off the circuit on the inside of the track. Oh, who was that in the background?
Vanashek.
Was that Vanashek? I thought that was the Legion car that I saw. So Vanashek, unfortunately, his race going from bad to worse. But again, he is on for points today, just purely because of the issues for Corny. I almost said mistakes, but again, we don't know all of the circumstances of that led to Corny's retirement in that Spurt car. So I don't want to misspeak on that one and say that it was his fault or anything like that, because you know, we only know part of the story. I would love to be able to talk to him right now and actually ask him what happened, but unfortunately we don't have that luxury, so we have to, you know, just go based on what we've seen, and what we've seen is only a small portion of the story, so we don't want to be taking too many leaps and assumptions or that kind of thing. But going back to what I was talking about, Reigl is closing in on Hernecki. It's not a massive difference, and in fact, he was just under a tenth slower than Hernecki on the previous lap, but they're about to come to the end of another lap here with just about 10 minutes plus 1 lap still to go at this race from Silverstone. So let's see if we can stay on board with these guys and find out exactly what the most recent lap times were from the pair of them. Hernecki a 129.376, Reigl a 128.840. He is definitely closing in his Pavel Reigl in that Acer car. So I would definitely be a bit concerned if I were Hernecki at the moment. Pachada, interestingly enough, maintaining that sort of gap. I don't think he has the pace to close up to Reigl and Hernecki. Again, he barely had the pace to overtake Hernecki in the first place, so I don't think he's going to be pressuring for 4th or 3rd or anything like that. But yeah, I do think the battle for 3rd is now between Hernecki and Reigl, and it's not over yet.
I would say so. And Reigl, as you say, took a good half second out of Hernecki last time. 9 minutes to go. Well, we'll see if he's got time. I think he would rely on a mistake from Hernecki to get Reigl in contention, to be honest. But we'll see. Very strange things have happened. Many strange things have happened in this race. Also, Prohaska, I'm surprised, really. He hasn't closed in what looks like at all on Kovacic. Yeah. I think he's gone into let's secure the second as opposed to push for the win, because it was quite a gap, and he would have to push and push and push to have closed that down. So he's gone for the safer option, and you know, can't blame him for that. He's in a very, very good podium spot at the moment, so he doesn't want to risk it. And here we've got Pritchard and Hernecki. So we're just going to see when it all went wrong. Well, there was a big wiggle from Hernecki. As Pritchard then continues to chase him now. It was down at Brooklands when it all went wrong. So this is where it was starting to chase. You can see he's really been determined. The amount of moves that he's tried to put on you a few laps ago here at Abbey, he tried that outside manoeuvre. So he's been really determined. It was always here where Pritchard got close and then Hernecki was able to pull away. Obviously getting on the gas earlier, but I think just, you know, with his setup difference, I'm pretty sure that that was there. That's what's held Hernecki. And then that was when I said, are you really sure about that? And it would seem the answer was no. Because at that point, and he was after the apex as well, where it all went wrong. He's then booted the throttle, and round he goes. And there was the example of the terrible turning circle. It is unfortunately true. The single seaters do have a turning circle of a barge. It takes them a very long time. It takes very special steering racks for them to do, like the Lowe's hairpin at Monaco, for instance. So, yeah, that's not him being lazy. He just couldn't turn the car any further. But that, again, is a highlight of how quickly these things can change. And there's still another 7.25 minutes to go.
Yeah, exactly right. Still have a race on our hands here. Rigel, let's see, actually on the previous lap, 6/1000ths of a second slower compared to Hernecki. So Hernecki is actually responding to the pressure from Pavel Rigel in that Acer car. So let's see, a 29.0 that time for Hernecki, only 1/10 quicker from Pavel Rigel. So again, we're seeing very, very small differences between the two of them. And I have to say, I'm a bit surprised by that. Rigel seemed like he was quite a bit quicker, but that could have been because Hernecki was having to go defensive from Pachada. So actually, I might have been very, very wrong when I said that Hernecki was disappointed to have Pachada not between himself and Rigel, because Hernecki may have actually been slowing down and going and lapping slower as a result of that Thrustmaster car behind him. And now that he's been sort of unleashed, he's just, free to put in the lap times that he wants to do. And with just over 6 minutes remaining and still about a 3-second gap, nearly 3.5-second gap between the pair of them, I don't think that Rigel is going to be able to do it. Now, he could potentially be saving some tires. That doesn't seem likely, though. I don't think that's the case. So yeah, at this point, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Hernecki probably has the pace that he needs in hand in order to grab that final podium position. And what a result that would be for him, to be totally honest, in the 12th round of this 2019 Mercedes-Benz Virtual GP. Really an interesting story, I have to say, this feature race with Jaroslav Prohaska and Hernecki picking up those podiums. I'm sure they're going to be absolutely thrilled. Pachada is going to be kicking himself. He's going to be wondering what might have been. Certainly a potential third position was on the cards for him, but he is still going to pick up a top 5. He's not going to be thrilled about that, but it could have been a lot worse, no doubt about it. I mean, just look at Corony. He's out of the race. He's not going to be scoring any points whatsoever today. Having a quick look at Kovacic, I missed his last lap time, unfortunately. It was a 29.3, I believe, for Jaroslav Prohaska, which is really interesting because he's barely lapping quicker than Hernecki, and he's actually lapping slower than Rigel. So you might be right about that, Chris. Prohaska may potentially be, just consolidating that second place finish, because why wouldn't you? It's a fantastic result. He's going to probably gain positions as a result of that. Or potentially he is holding on to his tire life for the final lap of the race, where he's going to push hard, try to pick up that fastest lap and pick up some extra points that way, rather than attempting to destroy his tires, catching up to Kovacic, and then, possibly just ruining his chances at keeping that second place position. So again, we're trying to get inside the mind of racing drivers here, which is a difficult thing to do, no doubt about it. Ooh, and Rigel, that's a big mistake for Pavel Rigel, and unfortunately I think that's going to lose him a bit of time to Hernecki. So yeah, as the clock is ticking down here, definitely I would say less and less opportunities here for Pavel Rigel to claim that final podium position. I'm thinking more and more that Hernecki is probably going to be safe on this one.
I would say so, and certainly if Pavel Rigel is going to overdrive to that degree and go for a bit of an explore around certain elements of the off-track, we'll see. 4 minutes plus 1 lap remains, unless Kovacic kind of ignores the fact that he has 8 gears in these things. He should be absolutely fine up there. It's very odd, isn't it? We're not used to having these kind of gaps in between everybody. This is one of the very few times in this season we've actually had that, but then we've had so many strange events here at Silverstone that it's not a surprise in the end. It's just unusual for the series. But we will see. We've seen how quickly these mistakes can kick in and really rearrange the entire scenario. I wonder, I'm not too sure that Prohaska's going to have enough life in his tyres to do what you were thinking. I would imagine he'll probably try it. Also, another thing they have to bear in mind is, we saw from the sprint race that there was a 20-second penalty imposed. Now, that could be due to causing an accident, or there'll be some kind of steward's intervention, but that's also something else that Prohaska does not want to risk. If he had a 20-second penalty, that would drop him down to 6th, I think. Well, certainly 5th from 2nd. So, again, I would imagine he'll just bring it home. He doesn't want to do anything unnecessary. There's no way, disaster aside, that he's going to catch Kovacic. And adding an additional point onto the 18 was desirable. Not convinced he's going to take the risk.
Yeah, you could be exactly right about that. We will have to wait until the checkered flag has fallen until we find out about that one. But we are looking at Hertnecki, who has had one of the busier races, if we're totally honest. Hertnecki has actually been one of the drivers that has had the most excitement in this race. Kovacic, Prohaska, these guys have been sort of just running their own race off on their own, really not having to worry too. Again, the director is doing a fantastic job of working with me here today. Kovacic really just sort of been running his own race. I think the only cars that he's actually run across are the ones that have been lapped. And that's about it. So that's really all he's had to deal with is lap traffic. So in a way, it's almost been like an endurance race out there for Kovacic. But he's been an army of one in that Logitech car, and really separating himself right from the very beginning. I think it was like a 3-second gap he had at the start of the race after all the insanity popped off in the midfield. He was already gone even by the end of the first lap. I think he could barely see Prohaska or any of the cars really in his rearview mirror after that first lap. So we do have, I don't think Kovacic is going to get back around before the time runs out. So I think this is going to be the penultimate lap of this race. This is round 12 of the VGP2 category. All of the guys in the studio for today's race, one of the 3 studio races that we have this year, and the final studio race before we go to the replays. Before we go to the 4 games event for the finale at the end, which is always a good time. Really looking forward to that one. Always a lot of fun. So we can look forward to round 13 and the final round of this season. But of course, after this VGP2 race, we do still have the VGP1 race. And if this has been any sort of indication, imagine what that's going to be like.
Oh, it'll be terrible, I'm sure it will, just like everything else. No, it has been a fantastic season. We commented before that it has just been a real joy. All drivers from both categories have put on an incredible performance. And look how many times the VGP2 drivers have really made the VGP1s work for it. It's been amazing to see, and I really do look forward to seeing how well these drivers progress as this season comes to an end, but also as their careers continue beyond this point. As the white flag is now out, so it'll be waiting for Kovacic to start that final lap, and voila, the director's listening to me as well. There he is. So the final lap has now begun, as we've got, that's Bušek and Jeleník, I think, ahead. The Predator and Smarty cars, it is indeed. So they're having a fight for 8th position. I mean, Vanešek, that's the Smarty car, that's Bušek getting out of the way. And that will be Jeleník, the Predator car, trying to stay ahead of Bušek. So that they've swapped round whilst trying to let the leader through, which is an unfortunate part of being lapped. It does ruin your own fights, but there we go. That's the nature of the beast. Jeleník will need to get out of the way, and he dutifully does, but he's going to try and cut back in to keep Bušek behind him whilst not killing the leader. And there we go, they managed to do that. So Vanešek is still on track, but he's nearly 2 laps down. So this is Jeleník and Bušek fighting for essentially wooden spoon avoidance. As Kovacic continues his merry jaunt, he's just, like you say, army of one, completely untouchable. Pritchard and Rigel are actually getting quite close together in this final lap. I just realised as well, looking at the timings. So there still be fighting to be had.
Pachada, I think, is more about making a statement. I think he's showing he was the third quickest car out there today. I think is what he's trying to say. Well, maybe fourth, depending on Corny. We can only hypothesize on Corny as he was out rather early. But just a couple of corners still to go for the Logitech car of Kovacic, and he is going to make his way through that final corner. I mean, he's been untouchable. I mean, we would say he's done a Schmidl, really, is what Kovacic has done in the VGP2 category. But really, I think this is the talking point today. Jaroslav Prohaska picking up what I think is a fantastic second-place finish. I imagine he's going to be absolutely thrilled about that. And Hertnecki as well, I think, is going to be another guy that is just absolutely thrilled to be on the podium here today. Rigel did a great job to pick up that fourth-place finish. Pachada, again, I think is going to be frustrated after that drive today. Kujela with a bit more of a quiet sixth-place finish. We saw him involved in some battles earlier on, but that's because he was sort of involved in that contra strategy. He went long in the first stint on that set of mediums, which I think got him involved in some battling. But then once he came into the pits for his final stint and went onto those soft tires, that kind of, you know, made his race a little bit quieter. Lishka with some problems today still manages to get 7th, a solid result for him.
Confirmation of the results then. Kovacic came home again with the full arrangement of points, and there's another of those 20-second penalties that we mentioned for Pachada and for Bušek. So Prohaska 2, Hertnecki 3, Rigel 4, Kujela 5, Pachada 6, Liska 7, Jelinek 8, Bušek 9th, and Vanacek rounding out the points paying positions. Corny, of course, not seeing the flag. And wow, what a lead for Kovacic over Pavel Rigel. Then 27 points to his gain. Then Pachada 3, Prohaska 4, Kujela so close to the RPS driver as well in the top 5. Then Bušek, Corny, Lishka, Hertnecki, and Vanacek rounding out the top 10.
In the team championship, it is all about Acer. 276 points compared to 219 with Logitech, who are both of those teams are looking fairly safe where they are at the moment. But it's only a 14-point gap between Benzina and Predator, only an 8-point gap between Predator and Smarty, and then just 7 points down to Replay Studio. But wow, what a race or races those were. That's going to do it, though, for the VGP2 races at Silverstone. Thanks to Chris Buxton and the entire VGP team. Thank you so much. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.